dark and scary night, it can be hard to tell what lurks in the shadows. Could it be a terrible beast, or perhaps a friendly cat just wanting to say hello? No
Hey,
one
Jobe, are you
knows.
doing the intro?
What are you doing?
Trying to do the intro, guys.
Really? Why are you putting so much effort into this? Just go, oh, it's scare by scare. And
Yeah, like scare by scare, you know?
Okay, fine. Welcome, listener, to Scare by Scare.
Cue the music.
No, quiet on set.
nice one.
Exorcist rolling. Take one.
All right, so at this point, the music has faded in. The listeners are locked in. Intro is busted.
Bussin'.
Yo, we're going to do something a little bit different today. So I'm going to kick it over to our special guest. First off, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey,
Hi.
This is awkward.
I'm Marshall. I'm the special guest this week. I want to thank Stare by Stare Incorporated Productions and Limited Liability Holding Company for bringing me out here today and to talk about a scary movie with y'all. So, yeah, really grateful to be here, hanging out with these great fellers. I always say that these guys are like the cane sauce to my chicken tenders. You know, they're just always there, ready to hang out with me. I'm banned from Cane's by my wife because I always eat too much. So I'm going to kick it back to Trace to introduce himself.
Still can't get over that you said it instead of LLC. What's up? I'm Trace. I'm not banned from Cane's. I actually have never been, so Marshall, you'll have to take me when we come to visit you in Idaho. I'm gonna kick it back over to Marshall so he can introduce our this week's summary host.
Hey, what's up? Marshall here again, ready to introduce our longtime running host and one of the original founders of the podcast. He comes from a long line of royalty and Vikings. 6-time welterweight champion of thumb wrestling, Jobe Fee.
Thank you.
go ahead and
Just
do
a
the
quick
content.
clarification. The Vikings that I come from, they were
What?
pretty chill. They weren't so much into the whole pillaging and
That was a good one, Marshall.
Murder.
roping of people. So anyway, hey, this week we watched The Exorcist from 1973. Now, before we begin, Trace, I gotta ask you,
What's up?
did the visuals put you off at all? Because I know you're a big old stinker for film grain.
I mean, yeah, it just kind of gave me Evil Dead vibes. Like the I don't know, the way she looked was it was more just funny to me than anything. Like there was no part of this that was like, oh man, that's awful, that's horrifying. Like I'm just kind of like, this bitch look creepy. She crazy.
Okay, so what is this movie? I gotta tell you, it is not what I was expecting. I'll say. So we open on northern Iraq, where they're digging for stuff, and this old guy, he finds a cool little carving of like a monkey or something, and it freaks him right the fuck out. So he goes and has a breath mint. I later found out it was actually nitroglycerin for his heart.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was cocaine.
Nope. It's nitroglycerin for his heart. I thought it was. I really thought it was just a breath mint. Anyway.
Oh, what's that shtick from Atlantis where it's like, wait, did you just drink that? That was nitroglycerin. Don't move
Yep.
your muscle. Yeah,
Marshall,
that's
we can't
good.
be recreating whole movie scenes.
No, but Atlantis was so good.
Start from the beginning.
I mean it is, but we're not talking
Well-
about Atlantis. We're talking about The Exorcist.
yeah,
we're-
we're talking about that next week.
Remember where he's like, you
Anyway.
got to put it in quarter turn clockwise, 3/4 turn the other way, and then
So-
Japan on.
This
like the
old guy
necklace.
then goes out to the desert where he has a vision of the monkey, but it's bigger and also has a big boner.
Wait, that was a vision?
We then cut to Georgetown, Washington, D.C. We see this lady wake up and she's hearing some crazy sounds, but nothing to get
I don't
worried
know.
over. she's just gonna have the hired help put rat traps up there. And then she goes to her job. She's an actress. She's working on a movie. And then then we follow this priest. What was his name? This guy. This
Father Crassus.
Crassus.
Crass
All right.
ass.
So we follow Krampus, and he goes to visit his mom in this shitty little apartment in New York. And he's all like, "Hey, mom, I could get you out of this place." And she goes, "Nah, son, this is my house.
Awesome.
I will die in this house." And then she looks into this camera and goes, "That's foreshadowing."
Yes, you will.
Anyway, we then cut back to the actress, and she's hanging out with her daughter, Reagan. And she's all like, "Ooh, let's do it a Ouija board." And Reagan's like, "I'm the best at Ouija board. Yo, what was it? Like Captain Pizza Man or
Captain
something?
Howdy.
Captain Howdy. Yo, does my mom got a fat ass? But Captain Howdy's shy, so he doesn't answer. And so, yeah, they go to bed. They plan birthdays and shit. Her dad's just not around. He's in Europe for some reason.
That's dead.
Anyway, now the priest, Krampus, is having a brewski with another priest. And they talk, and he's all like, I'm beginning to question my faith. And then we cut back to the actress. And she's hearing that weird noise, and she can't fucking stand it. So she goes upstairs into the attic. But whoops, no rats. Okay, now we're back to the priest. And now his mom is in the hospital. And yeah, she dies. So I guess I was wrong about the foreshadowing thing. She died at the hospital. And now we're back at the actress, and she's having a party, and her director / friend is there, Burke. He's drinking it up, and he's like, "Whoa, I can't wait to start a fight in the kitchen. Whoa." Reagan comes downstairs, and she's like, "You want to see the fastest way to ruin a party?" And everyone goes, "No." And she goes, "Fuck you," and pisses on the floor.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we cut back to that priest. He's having a great time dealing with his mom's death, so he's drinking a lot and blaming other priests of stealing his shoes.
Couldn't be me.
And now we cut back, and Reagan's in bed, and she's like, "Mom," and she goes in, and she's like, "What?" And Reagan's on the bed. She's like, "This bed is shaking, and not in a sexy way, which would be weird, as I am 12." But it gets much weirder.
He's just become a woman.
All right. And now we cut back to the priest, and he's like, "Yo, Jesus is bread."
What?
And then we cut back to Reagan, and she's like, "I love stabbing my hoo-ha with a cross and making mother the sauce."
Anyone else? No?
So now she's at the doctor, and they're all like, "Yo, this bitch is nuts. Put her in the 1973 CAT scanning device." And so they do, but to make it work, they have to drill a hole in her neck. Yep. And even, I have this in my notes, I feel like even for 1973, this wasn't like the top of the line equipment. Like, this was some shit they bought at a garage sale.
Yeah.
Anyway, they look at her brain, and they're like, "There's no hemorrhaging. But that could only leave one explanation. A hemorrhage we didn't find." Anyway, so yeah, this woman, I don't think it's the actress. I haven't said her name once yet. It's Chris. Chris is all like, "All right, the medical doctors won't help me. The brain doctors, they keep trying to help me, but they keep on getting goofified. I gotta talk to a priest." So she goes to the priest, and she's all like, "Mr. Cambridge, man, help me. Daughter's possessed? Maybe? Exorcism?" And then, the exorcist is all like, "Hey, probably not, but I'll go talk to your daughter." So he goes and talks to the daughter, and he's like, "Hey, are you possessed?" And she goes,
No.
which actually means yes in demon language. So he goes, and they grab the old guy from before, the old guy from Iraq, and they're all like, "Come on, we're doing an exorcism." And they start to do an exorcism, and basically it works, but before it does, old guy has a heart attack, and young guy has to basically suck the demon into his own body before throwing himself out the window. And everyone dies except for Reagan and her mom. So, like, happy ending for them, I guess. And that's kind of, I missed a lot of details, but man, this movie jumps around.
So, for context, this movie is like 2 hours long. And title thing, Exorcist. I want to see exorcisms. And the exorcism doesn't happen until the last 20 minutes of the movie.
No, last 30.
No, it was 20. He shows up in the last 30, but then it takes another 10 minutes to actually do that. It is an iconic shot with him, under the lamp
prep time
with the fog, right? But it's just like, what? I have opinions about this movie. It was one, I thought it was supposed to be scary, and it was not scary. It was giving like the scary movie vibes where it's just kind of dumb funny, where they say a lot of things and it's like, oh yeah, no, that's funny. It just wasn't a scary movie. But then I went and looked online, and all these like Wikipedia and articles and stuff were talking about how this was like the scariest movie to come out. And then I was like, oh, the scariest movie to come out in 1973, when everything else before it was just like Frankenstein's 7, Dracula 45, And I'm like, these guys has never seen a good horror movie before and saw The Exorcist, and we're like, this is kind of fun, right? Right? Anybody? She said, fuck, that's kind of cool, right?
You can do that now? Wow.
It was just not fun. It was boring.
Like if you're like actually scared by this movie now, I'm sorry, but you're a bitch.
Yeah. For me, I was thinking that they're trying to go with how like possession slowly takes over and it starts driving everybody kind of insane. But like, from the most part, when that she starts getting possessed, like we don't see much of the girl. And so we just see her like pee on the ground, call someone a bitch or whatever. And then we see her at the end where she's like fully on going wacko sicko mode. And the mom's just like sad the whole time.
What the fuck was that?
I dropped my microphone.
I thought you were getting whipped.
I am getting whipped.
Asin just snuck in behind you, just whoosh.
Yeah, our lovely editor and my wife. Just throwing that in there for y'all. But like
Casey
nothing like crazy. They just got her like they have the possessed girl, like she's not even doing anything freaky. She's just like opening drawers and shit. They have her like stapled to the bed essentially. Like there's like if worst case scenario, they just fucking leave her in the room and go about their day, it looks like.
Yeah, they're not. This isn't a movie where, like, if we don't exorcise this girl, she'll take over the world. It's, hey, I'd really prefer it if my daughter wasn't possessed by the denizens of hell.
What is that? Oh, that's our daughter. She's possessed upstairs. It's been a thing for like 3 years now.
I don't think it's a phase at this point. It's been 13 years, still possessed.
We're gonna get around to it. It's just
we'll get to it. We're gonna find a doctor.
Her dad's off somewhere.
They spend so long trying to figure out and tell us that it's not a medical thing when we, the audience, know it's not a medical thing.
Yeah.
Chris knows it's not a medical thing, but they're still going to like 40 different doctors, and the doctor's looking at this going, yeah, this is a medical brain thing. They get really strong sometimes, and sometimes they make shit levitate. It could be a brain thing. And I'm like, dude.
He's just psychic.
And then the exorcism was actually, like, the actual exorcism, like, nothing happened. They just came in, said some things. The girl was just like, you're a bitch. Fuck you.
Hey, fuck my ass. Fuck my ass.
Right? Like,
it
wasn't, nothing happened. That was like, wow, that's spooky.
It's pretty slow, honestly. It's just like, you wait so long for something to happen, and then it's one of those movies. It's a slow start. You wait for something cool to happen, and it's a long ass movie. And the only cool thing that happens is 20 minutes of the end of the movie.
Like, it was a slow burn that kind of just fizzled out. Like, it never really caught fire. Like Catching Fire, Book 2 of the Hunger Games series. Now in stores near you.
So
Good plug. We are sponsored today by Hunger Games.
So I'd give this movie a fair bit of leeway because I try to consider
know.
like the time it came out in.
No.
I kind of look at this movie kind of like I look at The Godfather, where
Okay, that's overrated too, though.
There we go. The podcast is done.
it might be overrated to us because we've seen all the tropes and stuff, but when it's the one that made those tropes, I feel like it deserves a little more credit.
Yeah, it gets credit for being the, like the Kickstarter, right? It started this.
The movie can still be bad, but have good ideas.
And I don't think this movie's bad, just like straight up, that's me.
Oh, well,
it's not a bad
It is,
movie.
though.
It's not.
Sure it is.
Of course it is.
Like, yeah, it has a cult classic, but then again, so does like House of a Thousand Corpses. Bad movie, big cult following for some reason.
Well, this isn't really like a cult following. This is like
Yeah.
popular media. Like,
Well,
Yeah, this isn't a cult following. This is
a cult.
No, it's kept in the Library of
Oh,
Congress as a piece of art with cultural
Shut up.
significance.
no,
It
it's
is!
not. No,
It
it's
is!
not.
Well,
Jimmy,
there's a
let's
piece-
fact check
okay,
that.
okay,
We have an
fine.
intern now.
Then
His name
our
is Jimmy.
Our government's been wrong thousands of times, and it is
Name
now.
six.
one.
Oh man, all the times genocide, slavery.
We didn't
Bye.
invent those.
I didn't say we invented it. I was mainly saying we were wrong about them.
Anyway,
I wouldn't tell
So-
Joe that he's right.
No.
I know I'm right. I did the Wikipedia after watching the movie.
I'm sure that you looked it up and it says that it's a cultural thing.
But
in our
Wikipedia
fucking-
lied to you. Your $3 donation was for lies.
I'm simply saying that it is wrong for being portrayed as such.
But okay, think about this though: The Conjuring, right?
Decent movie.
Insidious.
Decent movie.
Ghostbusters.
These are all movies that
Well,
probably
okay.
wouldn't exist without The Exorcist coming before it.
No, I'm gonna disagree with that.
Job's
Okay.
trying to liken The Exorcist to the steam engine.
Yeah, it's basically the steam engine of possession horror.
I'm not gonna say that they would be as they are. They definitely would exist without this movie.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say like if The Exorcist hadn't happened, there would never be a possession story. But I'm just saying, it is the one that in our current timeline, I feel like still is having an effect on how horror movies are made today.
I feel like if we didn't have the steam engine, we would have just gone elsewhere.
All right. 1973 is when this movie
Yeah.
came out. And
Yeah.
Good
it was the top grossing film in 1973.
wrong. That it was, not that it is. Not that it actually is wrong.
Not that the fact is wrong, just that it should be.
Other top hits were The Sting, which is a phenomenal movie. I loved The Sting. American Graffiti.
Isn't that the guy from The Police?
Yes, the one in the B movie, but this is the movie The Sting with Paul Newman and Robert Redford,
Ah,
Robert Shaw. There's a couple other movies, but they're all
good.
old. Like, I don't know how
What?
to say it. Like they have to do something unique to stand out, right? The Exorcist obviously took things to the next level in terms of what a horror movie could be, right? Before this, we've had freaky guys in suits or really bad Transylvanian accents with vampires, really. Like, it's all been these like creature, the ones that you see in like Scooby-Doo, right? The creature from the Black Lagoon and all that shit. It's pretty much what you've gotten up to this point. And then they're going to be like, hey, imagine, if you would, a world where we say the word fuck and a little girl fucking breaks her back and stuff like that. It's going to do a lot just because it was the first to do it. Because it's the first to do it doesn't mean it's the best one to do it.
Jobe's right. A little girl broke her back in this, and then years later, Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double was paralyzed while he was filming Harry Potter, and it never would have happened had the girl not broken her back in this.
That's a
She
crazy
didn't break
leap.
her back. She got scoliosis.
She snapped her spine in half and then swung it around.
The director picked her up like Bane.
Pick me
Why
up and
aren't
treat me
you-
like a rag doll.
Why aren't you moving? And she's like,
Ah, yes. I wondered what would break first. Your scene or your character?
Like, It's just, I feel like it could have been more condensed. It didn't need to be 2 hours.
Right. Like I'm gonna be real.
Okay,
The
but,
full
like-
beginning of it to me doesn't matter. We see the guy. He does cool things. We see him later. He dies.
Like, what's the whole point of him Indiana Jones and out in the desert?
Right. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Riddle me that, Batman.
Yeah,
Not sponsored.
bitch.
So that first scene, I suppose, is to kind of imply a connection between the old priest and possibly this specific demon. What's possessed Reagan?
But that doesn't really have any implication for the rest of the movie. Like the demon like says his name, beware the priest, was like, Marin, for beware the priest, and then he gets there and they're like, Marin, you bitch. But like, other than that, they just choose this guy because he's old and good at exorcisms, I guess.
Well, I mean, they see, don't they find the one little like carving of Pazuzu, and then later on that same carving is found outside of the McNeil household?
Yeah.
And
So
That's like the smallest
implies that
connection.
you know what's crazy? The water we drink used to be dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs could be standing right where I live.
The fossil twist in our car used to be a pterodactyl.
No, but I'm saying is that first scene was like 20 minutes long. They could have
It
had
wasn't 20 minutes. It was like 5.
No, it was. It was so freakishly long because it starts with a little boy finding it and running and getting the white man. The white man comes over, looks at it, and then he goes through the streets, and then he goes to the other place, the guns, and he goes out in the visions and the dogs. Like they could have just shown him seeing that, and then the visions immediately, right? Like, I want to see possession. Damn it!
Yeah, like in comparison to what the movie is trying to do, I don't care about what's happening in Iraq in 1973 when I just want to see a little girl go crazy and crawl in the ceiling.
She doesn't crawl. No crawling.
She doesn't. No crawling.
Unbelievable.
She floats a little bit.
I will say this apparently so this was adapted from a novel.
This is a shitty novel.
She's just a funnier
And-
Jean Grey.
And in the novel, basically what they do is they try to leave it a little more ambiguous if Reagan is actually possessed or not. By every symptom she displays does have an actual reasonable explanation, but in the movie they did just she's possessed.
Yeah, the movie they're like, it has to be a brain lesion, and then they look and they're like, not a brain lesion, don't know what it could be, and then they go through things and like paranormal stuff happens. Like remember, like, oh, she's moving a dresser across the room and no one's next to it. That's a brain disease right there. If I know brain diseases,
That part I do actually love. I think it's hilarious.
Okay, but like, what would you do in that position?
what would I do if I was?
This bitch is fucking magic.
I wouldn't be like, let's go look for a fucking doctor
When
again.
did you study to go to wizard school?
I'm just saying, also keep in mind that I don't know if this
I
is
would
even
never.
true in the IRL 1973,
Wow.
but in the world of this movie, like, exorcisms are not like a commonly known thing.
Okay.
No, I do think that part's funny though when it comes to the idea of what's wrong with her, because yeah, for centuries somebody had a mental illness, a physical defect, and they went, that bitch is possessed. Full demons inside of them, get rid of it. And now that we're like getting a little bit of science and a little bit of health smarts, they're like, they see somebody possessed and they're like, no, we know what brain hemorrhages are now. So we're gonna call it that, but they're actually possessed this time.
I just think it's silly when the psychiatric priest goes there and then he talks with this lady, and he's like, listen, I'm here to diagnose as a psychiatrist, not as a priest. And then he talks with Reagan and he's like, he's not saying that she's possessed, but he's like, oh fuck, she's definitely like fucking possessed. Like he talked with her for maybe 5 minutes and was convinced that she's like possessed. And he's like, hold on, let me go get my fucking
His mom.
No, he gathers evidence and then he talks it over with another priest to see
So?
if he thinks, because like,
Catholic,
Priest
he-
Corleone, he's all like, yeah, I'm not even sure if I believe in a Jeebus, let alone a demon possessing this little girl. But, this mother seems really desperate. I gotta collect this evidence. And he sees some stuff, and he's like, okay, this is all kind of weird, but we could probably come up with an explanation.
And then he's like, she's not really speaking other languages she doesn't know and doing all these other weird things. Let me come back with my tape recorder. And then she's like, oh, you want to hear me speak English backwards? You want to hear me speak Latin? Well, French. There you go. Hey, your mom's dead. You think about that?
If she hadn't done that, the Beatles never would have existed, because that's where they got all their ideas.
Anyway, Marshall's laughing really hard. He's drowning over there.
Fun fact, Father Merrin is the voice of Esbern in Skyrim.
Wow. Oh, let's go. My man Esbern.
He's also in Game of Thrones.
You want to know a fun fact? Gandalf voices one of the characters from Dougal.
Completely unrelated.
No, that's good. That's good.
There was fun
fact. We go on
fact.
Wikipedia and we try to go from Lord of the Rings to Dougal.
I'm just mad they called him Gandalf and not
Ooh.
Ian McKellen.
This guy that played the older priest was hot back in the day in 1961. Yeah. Oh, he died.
That. I like that you're mad about that, but you're not mad at him calling him Mark Zuckerberg in Vivarium.
No, that's funny.
Same concept.
Nah. Anyway,
Ian McKellen played Zebedee. Zebedee, what was the answer we're looking for?
Nuts.
I think it's really interesting that they pair this possession story with the priest who is, having a crisis of faith,
Why is it interesting?
Well, just
because they do it in all other films later. It paves the way.
I mean, it does. No, not really. Actually, I don't think we see that often, do we?
We do.
Do we? I don't think we've ever seen a movie where a priest has a crisis of faith.
Well, not for this. But like
every priest we've seen, they've been pretty all arms in on the whole Jesus thing. Well, except for that Jewish rabbi.
Well, yeah. I think in The Nun, though, he was having a little bit of crisis.
Oh yeah,
but it might have been a personal. I don't know. But no, it's been in quite a few like Exorcist.
Name 5 movies. Right now.
I can't.
You're nuts.
That's what I thought. Anyway, I do like it's an interesting, dimension to add to the character that I feel like in movies we've seen, the priest just is a tool to be used by the main character to exorcise demons, but this priest actually does have character, and he is having this question of faith, and now he's got to come in and deal with demons possessing little girls.
Yeah, that's what he does. And I just think it's boring.
It's the little ways in which that they give plausible deniability to the demon thing. Like when she first mentions his mother dying, and he's like, hey, does she know about my mother dying? And Chris goes, no. Did you know about my mother dying? And she goes, yes. Did you talk to her? No. But she might have overheard it. So,
and then he doesn't ask any questions on how Reagan was able to perfectly replicate his mother's voice. Well,
at that point, they're already doing the exorcism.
I thought that was before. No, she did it before. And that when he faked her with the holy water the first time.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Marshall.
And that's
good for too long.
She also did what that homeless guy said to him perfectly. Remember? She repeated that perfectly.
Does she?
Yeah. It's one of the first things she says to him is, or he's looking away. Yeah. It's one of the first things she says to him is what that homeless man says. Hey, buddy, you got a spare change for a poor altar boy or old altar boy or something? And he's like, what? Anywho, do you
He said what?
The face Marshall made when he went what?
Describe my face when I said what, Joe, for our auditory listeners out there.
All right, so to describe Marshall's face, it's like when you try to talk to someone as they're ripping off a bong, and then they finally come up for air and they just go, what? That's what Marshall looks like.
That's good. That's good.
Drug addict going through.
But there's I don't know, man. There's a lot of scenes that didn't need to happen.
I agree. There's just I don't know.
Like what? Name a scene you would cut.
Okay, so
The whole
we
beginning.
have the Crassus visits Chris, but they're in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, "I wasn't in uniform. I wasn't telling you that." And then he discusses how he's only going to visit as a psychiatrist, and that scene is very long for him to say he's only visiting as a psychiatrist. And then he gets to the house and goes, "I'm only visiting as a psychiatrist," just so everyone's aware. You could have just kind of taken about half of the first scene and put it in the house where he's like, "Listen, I heard you have a problem. I'm here as a psychiatrist. Yes, I'm a priest, but I'm here as a psychiatrist."
But it's
And then
to
go.
show his hesitancy to maintain his connection to the church. He's not sure if he's going to be a priest anymore, so he just wants to make it clear to everyone that he's not visiting as a priest. He's doing it as a psychiatrist.
But he shows up in priest wear.
They don't need to have. I don't think they need to have the whole detective going around trying to solve a homicide, because it doesn't really add. Like, they never arrest the girl for killing people. They just like, "Hey, did your daughter do a thing? We don't think so. I think she might have, but I don't know what else to do because whoever killed him was a very powerful man, and your daughter's not a very powerful man." And then just nothing comes of it. And the guy comes by later and he's like, somebody else is dead. Well, back to the
I'm really
investigation.
good at my job.
I bet someone else killed him over in Brooklyn.
My whole thing is like, we watched the first exorcism go, and then they're just like, "Well, might as well do it again because it didn't fucking work." And I'm like, what's the point of anything, man?
Marshall gets too depressed to watch movies.
I got so excited because this is supposed to be the climax of the movie, right? This is supposed to be the exorcism, and she's floating up, and then she just kind of goes back, and they're like, "Well, we'll take a little break and try it again." And I'm like, what do you mean? And then old man just keels over, fucking dies, and then other man is like, "No, possess me, and I'll jump out a window and die." And the little girl's like, "Okay."
This movie isn't even the 530th most popular movie on IMDb.
Wait, what's Dougal at?
Shut up with your
No,
Dougal.
give me a minute. He deserves to know.
The man needs to know.
Is it spelled with is it D-U-G?
No, that's crazy talk.
D-O-O.
D-O-O-G-A-L.
Oh, it's G-A-L was getting me.
It's got an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It is not rated in popularity on IMDb.
That sounds about right. I watched it in theaters.
So add that to the Marshall lore.
You know, when I was a kid, I went and saw it was Ice Age 2 or 3 in theaters, and I always like the scrap bits, you know, where he's getting the acorn. And I ate too much popcorn and then choked on it while I was laughing from watching Scrat get the acorn, and then threw up in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
I genuinely same thing.
I felt like the girl from The Exorcist. That's to tie it in.
That
there we
shit
go.
made me so funny.
There you go.
So funny. I can't believe Jobe hates this. This has such great actors in it. We got Gandalf. We got
no.
Chase,
I hate it too.
Goldberg,
It sucks as a movie. Like
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
William H.
No,
Macy.
That's the best part of the movie is the cast.
Judi Dench.
everything else about it is terrible. Just like The Exorcist.
Judi Dench was in The Exorcist.
No, she wasn't.
No, she died.
No, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
Stop making shit up.
Trace is spreading lies.
Telling lies.
Just like The Exorcist. And thinking that this
I have to
movie
tell
is good.
lies.
Everyone, rein it in. Jobe, what did you like about the movie?
See, again, coming at it from the mindset of
What?
well, 1973, nothing like this has existed before.
No, not that.
And-
You watch this movie complete in a vacuum. You're watching this movie.
No, you
don't
can't
know
watch it in a vacuum
I
anymore.
can't hear it. The vacuum's too loud.
All right, fine.
All right, let's Jobe, you're in a vacuum. Ready? No.
I was gonna yell, but I decided that wasn't a funny bit.
Anyway, what'd you like about it? Not the whole, oh my god, this is the first thing to do. This. Watching it, what did you like?
I thought it was well paced. I gave it some shit earlier about jumping back and forth, but it keeps you on your toes and it lets you just get to, I feel, kind of what they are getting at to in scenes. The cast, I thought, all did a fantastic job. Performances were top notch. The effects, I think, are pretty good.
They floated one bed and you shit yourself.
And I liked the climax. I thought it was an
You
appropriate
would.
amount of build up to an appropriate conclusion of the
Appropriate
actual
amount of build-up.
exorcism. I thought it built up to getting to the actual exorcism fairly well.
I mean,
It's fine. That
yeah, because nothing else happened in the movie.
he's right.
God forbid we have rising action in our movies.
There was no
No.
rising action. It's just
There is. There just is.
She walks up to a guy
Okay.
and says, "You're gonna die upstairs," and then pisses all over the floor. That's the rising action.
so before the
That's
climax.
the-
What's the
chorus
rising
that
action?
happens.
What is the
Alright.
rising action to the climax? The fact that
Okay.
she's calling this guy a bitch and stabbing herself in the hoo-ha?
Yes, and now she's going through all these surgeries, and they still can't find something wrong with her, and she's only becoming more violent and more ill, and more strange shit's happening. And then you go to the priest.
It doesn't
and
even get.
He's
it doesn't
already having a
escalate.
crisis of faith. Now his mom is dead. Nobody
I think
believes
this
in him.
movie's bad.
It doesn't escalate on her end. She literally we see her
She sits
pee
on
on
a
the
bed.
ground.
She's bedridden for years.
And we see some stuff, and then it jumps to we see stuff fly around, and she slap her mom, and then it jumps to the very end. There's no like build up.
What
It's
are you
just
talking about? She jills herself with a crucifix.
she slaps her mom. That's like equivalent. You ever slap your mom, Joe?
No, but I've never jilled with a crucifix.
Exactly. It's the same amount of things.
Oh my god. You asked me what the rising action is, and then when I tell you, you just go, no.
Because you're wrong.
Yeah, there isn't really a rising action. It's a stagnant action. And
Once
then it
again.
jumps up a little. It jumps
No,
up one tiny
You're
step
wrong. You're
during the
fucking
exorcism.
wrong.
where they say the power of Christ compels you for 20 minutes straight without taking a breath. And at that point, I don't even know if he's compelling it or not. It doesn't seem to be working.
The only thing I'm compelled to do is shut this movie off.
That's what you should do right now, viewer.
Two things. What was the point of him throwing the holy water and going, it's fake, yet she reacted? But we know
See,
she's
actually
possessed.
possessed.
Yes, but she was possessed. But she didn't.
Because we're
He
We're
might
not
as well have
supposed to
walked
know
up to
that.
somebody on the street, shot him in the chest,
It
killed
doesn't
the guy, and
matter.
went, blanks.
We definitely find out at the end that she was possessed.
Yeah.
Like,
and the demon lies to make stuff happen. It tricks the servants of God. I don't know.
about the
No, it
holy
doesn't.
water.
You're
That's
too
no,
smart.
that's canon.
tri-
No.
it-
In all
God.
lore, holy water do bad to demons.
It hurt.
Supernatural.
Yep, there you go.
I'm a demon. I'm a known liar. Sure, I'm getting sprinkled with tap
I
water,
got
but
it.
I'm going to play along with the bit. Why not? Fuck it. Could be funny.
That's why it's funny. It's not scary.
Marshall's on the side of the demon, just thinks Pazuzu's funny.
Pazuzu. I also want to say that Jobe think Jobe movie good once again.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this boils down to, honestly.
No,
It's-
screw
no,
that.
It's more complex to pick a movie and then
Absolutely
subconsciously
not.
defend it because you need to have that.
I'm defending
I
it
do-
because it's a classic and because it frankly still holds up.
You're wearing rose tinted glasses. Is that how you use that? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Hey!
It's not like I'm not directly nostalgic for it. This was my first time seeing it.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Just
Me
defending
too.
it as it's a classic, though, isn't necessarily like that. Doesn't necessarily mean, oh, hey, this is a good movie. It's just like, it's.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I just have. You're right, man. I just have a
you.
complex because people
Yeah, you're
talk about Shakespeare.
wrong. You're
It's
wrong.
old, therefore bad. Because
this.
someday I'm gonna be old, and I don't want it to be old equals therefore bad.
Shakespeare's good. It just isn't necessarily entertaining all the time. Like if you watch Hamlet, it's not as entertaining as watching The Lion King.
That's why. That is why I always say, listen up, all my English teachers out there. Don't
Let's
make your
go.
kids read
Uh-huh.
goddamn Shakespeare
Yeah.
because they're gonna
No!
stumble over things.
Make kids read Shakespeare.
You have to
Don't.
perform it. It has to be a performance. You can't just have them sit there and
Yes.
read.
It is a performance. It's not a reading.
I mean, yes, you can read it out loud and
No, because
No can.
growing up
must
in
perform it.
southern Madagascar, where we had to read Shakespeare, right? We were sitting there in our little huts in Madagascar with the penguins, and we had to just prompt chord read. Marshall, you're gonna be fucking the Lord of the Flies, or whatever the character's name was
You're gonna
from
be
Midsummer
fucking
Night's Dream. What's the King of the Fairies? Oberon. And then you're Titania, and
Titania.
you're Puck, and then you're all just gonna read. And then we just sat there. We're just like, "Hello, I am Oberon, King of the Fairies. I do what you will."
look, I'm sorry your teacher didn't engage you with the material. That's
No.
not my problem.
I'm not saying it's your problem. I'm saying it's systematic in school.
Madison, can you go back to the part where Marshall was bringing us up for the first time and cut out the part where Marshall says "Hey teachers" and replace it with "Hey Jobe"?
Yeah.
No.
I'm just okay. Okay, let's all just Madison, put in the elevator music. We're gonna take a Capri Sun break.
Huh.
Capri Sun break. I don't have Capri Sun, man.
And we're back from the Capri Sun break.
Oh, yeah. No one told me we were having a Capri Sun break. What kind of Capri
I
Sun?
would have gotten a Capri. I could have.
Okay,
some on my way
okay.
home
No
from
for
work.
next time. Get Capri Suns. We'll have a Capri Sun break.
Motherfucker.
Is that going to be our new bit? A Capri Sun break every episode?
Yeah, all of Trace's
Yeah.
bits are dumb.
What?
Hey.
That is not name 3.
Masbeth.
I knew you'd say that, which is why I said name 3.
Today's sponsor.
No, that's my
wasn't mine.
bit.
That wasn't my bit.
That's my bit.
I didn't start
What?
that. I don't think
We did that
Madison
since
backed up.
Brownie days.
Yeah, I didn't start it though, Madison. If I'm not right, cut this out.
Check the numbers.
Anyway.
I don't remember
Check
who
the
started
numbers.
How
Check
long
the
have we been
numbers.
recording? Have we?
Have we reached our limit? Can we
Not
stop
lo-
talking about
Not
Exorcist?
long enough. Let's talk about other shit. The best part is when he beats the shit out of a 12-year-old girl.
That is
Yeah,
pretty
it's fun.
funny.
It's
What's your
pretty
least
good.
favorite part of this movie?
Oh god, the
whole
length
thing.
and pacing. It was
Okay,
just-
why
it
do
was
you think
just
the
a- ugh.
pacing fails?
Nothing
Because-
happens.
Yeah, like it's just nothing. They don't do anything to sustain entertainment. It's just like if we're watching a movie
mystery.
about exorcisms, why are we just sitting around watching a family do family things while the girl is being possessed, but we're not actually focusing on the possessed girl?
If
Like,
I'm to watch a horror movie about a possession and there is the literal devil there, I want to see some freaky shit.
yeah,
I don't want to see them go, well,
and we see
looks like we're going to have to
we
see
don't
a
see
CAT
enough.
scan. There needs to be, she just let it happen. Pazuzu just said, oh, you know what? CAT scan might be fun. Let's see this happen. Right?
I've always wanted a cat.
What if Pazuzu and then that does the pitch perfect thing, you know?
Zoom, 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 zoom,
Zoom, zoom, zoom, zoom, zoom, zoom, zoom, zoom.
All right. Why do we need her sister to be the horsiest horse girl I've ever seen horse? I don't give a
I
shit.
don't know.
She doesn't
Nothing
watch
ever
Spirit,
comes of it.
though.
She's like, "Hey, mom,
Spirit didn't exist
I
in 1973.
saw
Not her
a
fault.
beautiful horse today, and I love horses so much. Can we get a horse? I would really love a horse.
There's
Yeah,
no
your
need to
sister's
show us.
possessed. Man,
that
I
sh-
love horses.
There's no need to show us that children are innocent when children are just inherently innocent, as we know for the most
Yeah.
part. Unless the
Yeah.
children's a little
It's a
piece of
given.
shit, right?
Unless they're an iPad kid.
The one from Babadook.
Oh, fuck that kid.
Yeah, fuck
And
him.
fuck the kid from Vivarium. That's also a
True.
bad movie.
He's not a kid. He's not a child. He's not even.
I think our new bitch is going
He
to be
doesn't have
dogging
to
on
advice.
Vivarium every time.
That's fine. It sucks.
Or-
It's shitty.
What if the bit was we defended Vivarium with
I
their
think
lies?
that's. I actually think that's stupid, and no.
So back to The Exorcist. There was a couple cool
Yeah.
visuals. I'll give you that much. Like I said, the one where The Exorcist is standing out in the front of the house next to the street lamp and the fog. Like that's, it's a good shot where you pretty much see his silhouette against the fog. But that happens about with 30 minutes left of the movie, and I'm like, so you had the iconic shot from like the
Yeah.
everything. Damn, Jobe, you were in a Bucky's hat, a Bucky's shirt, and a Bucky's cup. You're crazy for this one, man.
He's got the bussies on.
Yeah, but I was saying, like, for that part, that's pretty neat. What else? Yep.
For me, it's also just partially like, how can you compare this to House of a Thousand Corpses?
Because I haven't seen House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
Like, House of a
How can you
Thousand
compare it to
Corpses is
anything
just
else?
trying to. Huh?
How can you compare? They're horror movies. How can you compare it to anything else?
I compared it to The Godfather pretty handily, I think.
Yeah, and
No,
why?
you didn't.
Nah, I did
How does it
great.
compare? Oh, I forgot. They start throwing during the christening while everybody's dying at the end. The baby starts getting possessed.
No, you fucker. It's because they were both pioneers in their field.
Ugh.
What field for The Godfather? Mafia movie? Crime movies?
Hey.
Crime movies been going on way longer
No,
than the
my
Italian.
favorite movie genre is a. It's top.
Oh
It's
my
top.
God.
I can't believe that you think that this is a pioneer in its field when in 1973 hip hop was invented, and you're not even talking about that. And also, the person who wrote this article's wife was born.
Wow, that's something.
Man, listen, Joe, I see what you're going with, that it is considered a classic. It made a lot of money. It is iconic. If you mention The Exorcist, people are going to think of the movie rather than anything
this year.
else.
Shout
Right?
out to Oswald Walker for writing this article. Happy birthday to
Hey, my man. Hey.
Trace.
Right?
you. Yeah, what's up?
Marshall's talking.
Oh, what
Yeah.
was I saying? I was complimenting. I was saying I see what he's going for. Yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba doo, and then like I get it.
Nope.
But at this point, comparatively to the movies that came before it, it's gonna be scarier because all the movies probably were dog water. No one wants to see the 37th Frankenstein movie, you know, Frankenstein versus Dracula. It's like the 47 goddamn not Freddie Mercury movies. Friday the 13th movies.
I mean, yeah, if you're watching this and comparing it to the Munsters, it's gonna be scarier.
I don't think Friday the 13th was out in 1973.
It wasn't. But if you had showed them
That's his point.
Friday the 13th in place of The Exorcist, they would have been like, man, this is also
Yeah,
super scary compared to everything that has come before.
if we showed them Lights Out in 1973 and just as is, they'd shit themselves.
Right? Because at
Okay,
this point, they're
sure.
seeing like bad fucking Transylvanian accent Dracula go, I'm going to suck your blood. And like, oh my God, it's so
That was good.
scary. Ah!
That was also good.
That was just a good Transylvanian accent, my bad.
That's exactly how my grandfather sounds, actually.
But Lights Out wasn't made in a world without The Exorcist. It was made in a world with The Exorcist.
What does The Exorcist have to do with Lights Out?
Lights Out was not a possession
what does-
movie.
What does
There's no priests.
It's kind of a possession
Touch and go.
movie.
what
And, you know, the influence of psychiatry and how that plays with the concept of horror.
you're
and what
gonna
we're
claim
afraid
that
of.
psychiatry starts in The Exorcism?
And how it affects
That's
how
what you're-
Because think about it this way. In all your examples, you're talking about distinct monsters that no one could ever be like, oh, somebody's crazy for seeing a man get fucking stabbed in the neck by fangs. No, but like The Exorcist does present as like, oh, you know, it's all mental.
But we've known that. That's not necessarily a movie thing. That's not the movie opening the eyes of the public going, holy shit, maybe these people aren't just like mentally disabled. Maybe they have demons in them. Shit. Well, we gotta go.
Imagine having two minds in one head and that's being considered handicapped. If anything, that's
Well, I
that's
mean,
boosted.
I think that is just considered a handicap.
Nah, dog. That's tag teaming.
Nah, dog. I said let's raw, dog.
I think the issue is The Exorcist did some things first, and Jobe's going, well, it pioneered that. It just did it first, and everyone was like, wow, no one's ever done this before. That's crazy, man. You're a pioneer. But like, it's a very broad thing to do. Like,
Actually-
what if we bring in psychological effects into our movie and talk about psychiatry?
Here's the thing, though. I am gonna break Jobe's entire argument.
No.
This
boy.
is not the first movie to have the possession be a big part of it.
You slut.
The
Okay.
Hands of
sorry.
Orlac in 1924 is the first film to suggest somebody being possessed by the spirit of another.
Yeah, bitch.
Okay. Well,
You're
then I
wrong.
guess there
So
goes all
therefore,
my arguments.
the exorcism sucks. We're watching The Hands of Orlac.
Ah,
Best
be
movie ever
interested.
made. I'm claiming it right now.
It's
Fair
no
enough.
Dougal.
Anyway, I'm just saying, you guys have no taste. You don't appreciate the arts.
You say this
I don't
every time
appreciate
you
the
pick a
arts.
movie. That's your argument every time.
You're gonna look at me and tell me I don't appreciate the
You're
arts?
gonna look at me and tell me I'm wrong?
I put you on so many good TV shows, you slut.
And what was it? A fucking witch, Doug.
Every single show I've ever shown you, Joe, you haven't been like,
She
oh,
came
this
down in a
sucks.
bubble.
Doug, I'm just saying, I would have never seen an episode of Gamers had you not brought that
I
into
never
my life.
showed you Gamer. I showed you
Marshall-
fucking Gurren
Marshall is the
Lagann. I
exor-
pulled up
Marshall
and
is the
said,
exorcism of Jobe's anime.
I said, here, Assassination
It's true.
Classroom. Here's Cyberpunk Edge Runners. And you're like, wow, these are fucking bangers, dog. And then you come in and say, you should watch The Exorcist. Fuck, dude.
You should watch The Exorcist.
No,
I just
you
did.
shouldn't.
And it was
And it
bad.
was awful.
It's
Man.
good.
It's weird to think that Jobe wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for Marshall suggesting a little bit of anime, because Jobe was a star football player before he shattered his ankles.
He took one step on the football field and broke both.
I broke my boba.
Jobe still has
So-
the rod of his thighs.
Wrap it up,
Overall,
boys.
I feel like even without, my bullshit pioneering, what yada yada, I still think it's a solid movie, better than a lot we have seen.
Oh, well, okay. I'll give
I
you
think it
that.
tells-
It is better than some movies we've seen.
I don't know. I think it tells an actual story and isn't stupid. Like a lot of the movies we've watched are just, I feel, actively stupid.
I mean, all
And
movies tell stories.
all movies are stupid, and that's why Trace
Yes, that's
will
true,
hate them
actually.
all. Anyway, 7 out of 10. Argue all you want. I don't care.
I'm not gonna argue because it's okay that you're wrong, and I've.
Hey, look,
accepted
it's
that
fine.
in
We
my
all have
mind.
different opinions, and
Yours
that's
just happens
great.
to be the
But it
worst.
is better than The Nun, which I gave a 6. So
I don't know about that. The Nun, that was.
I
a
might
little
need
more
to give
entertaining.
Drag Me to Hell a higher score, though.
Oh, that's not true.
All
It
right,
was so
Trace.
fun. It was
Trace, give
funnier.
your score, Trace.
I feel like I have to give a worse one now because Jobe.
Oh,
talked me
fuck
into it.
off.
I'm gonna give it. It's not scary. I can't even see like
What
a
is?
scare factor in it. Like we've talked about it. I'm not scared, but I can tell scare factors in scary movies. This doesn't have any. It was pretty funny. But it did not need to be that long. We could cut this by about probably a good hour. 3 out of 10.
Ridiculous.
It's better than Vivarium, but worse than Monster House. So, Monster House was a pioneer in house horror.
Oh, true, true.
Oh God, Cat.
Never been done.
Why did you go for the motion capture thing? That would have been something.
Motion
No.
capture was done before Monster House.
Yeah,
It was houses.
not monster houses.
Not Horror
All
House.
right, you know what? You got me. Pants around my ankles.
I'm giving Exorcist a 2.785.
a long number. Now that we've given those scores, I will go back because I know if anybody watches this and decides to ever do any interaction with us, yes, Marshall is technically wrong. Monster Houses were a thing before Monster House, but I do want to agree with Marshall because it's against Jobe.
All right, well, we want to shout out our sponsors today. We have 2 sponsors. We have
Do a third one
pens,
because
just
we
in
missed
general,
last week.
like pens and pencils. We want to shout out pens for being there when you need to write things.
Good save.
The other thing is we want to shout out Monster House again. Better than Exorcism.
Go watch it.
Absolutely not.
Go give it a listen.
Hey, that'll be it. Catch us where
Do a third one.
we.
We missed a sponsor last week.
Hey, third
Oh,
one. We
third.
want to shout out to all my exorcism heads out there. You're fucking weird, man.
Tune in next week.
No. Make sure
It's not
everyone.
done yet.
No.
Red-
Tune in next week.
No, you're not done yet.
Not yet. Catch us
Okay,
where
okay.
we watch where you watch your podcasts. Check us out on Instagram and
Where we watch
Facebook
what?
and TikTok. This has been Marshall, Trace, and Jobe. And catch us next week while we watch Marshall movie and Marshall movie good movies. Probably I've never seen
What
this movie.
is it?
We're watching Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I
Guys.
used to read the book as a kid, and I read it once, and I was like, this is a little weird. But we're watching the movie based on the book next week,
Alright.
so tune in. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Bye.
Woo!